Hello guys! How's it going? I'm so happy you're here today. It's Kay Worth here, and I am here doing my first video on my new segment I'm calling Talking Tuesdays. This is a segment that I've come up with where you, as the audience, the people watching on your laptop or your phone or, you know, your big screen TV, maybe even a book. I don't know your life. I don't know what you have. You give me suggestions on Sunday and Monday, and then I take those beautiful little suggestions and I put them in a hat, a cup, whatever I have around. And the one that I pick is the one that I talk about that week on Tuesday. And this week's topic was given to me by one of my old friends. His name is Nathan. I got a lot of awesome suggestions. I want to say thank you to everyone who gave me a suggestion. So Nathan, his suggestion was to talk about how Grant and I met. I'm starting this segment, so I don't really know how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna do my best, and we're gonna try and make this work. I apologize if this video is a little even a little the feck. So for this topic, I'm just gonna start off by saying that Grant and I are high school sweethearts, for the people that don't know. Grant and I both kind of, you know, went into our relationship thinking this is our first trip into being in a relationship and having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And so we were both kind of thinking it wasn't going to work out and, you know, get that first boyfriend, girlfriend out of the way. But that's kind of not how it worked out for us. You know, it's probably not going to work out because high school sweethearts, you know. And also, we had never dated anybody ever until we dated each other. We were literally each other's first everything. First kiss, first love, literally first everything. Yeah, the statistics were not on our side, that's for sure, but somehow we've made it this far, and now we're, you know, talking about our future and moving in together and marriage and all the freaking scary stuff about growing up. Anyway, let's get on to the story. Enough gabbling on. Let me just set the stage for you. Senior year of high school. I was the secretary of the drama club. Our new director, his name is Cash. He's absolutely fantastic. Cash, if you're watching this, I love you and I miss you so much. He was gonna be the new director because, again, like, it's a brand new club, so we have to have a separate director. And he told me that I can pretty much pick what I wanted to do for the following shows my senior year. And so I told him that my first one, I wanted to be the soundboard technician, because that was like my favorite thing to do in high school. Well, the auditions came around and he told me that I was going to be the technical director as well and the sound effect design. And so I was at almost every single rehearsal working with the tech crew and creating my tech crew and, you know, teaching everyone, figuring out what I was going to do. My friend Tully, he was part of the Battleground video production class and he had access to a bunch of sound effects, so he helped me out. I designed it, but he helped me get the effects. There was this one day where Cash pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, I have some people from the video production class coming in to take pictures for us." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he said, "So I'm gonna have you instruct them on what to do because I'm gonna be busy directing, obviously." All of a sudden, these two guys come in, my friend Ryan and Grant, with their giant cameras. I looked at them and I was like, oh, they're kind of cute. I mean, that's what I did in high school. I was kind of analyzed all the guys, but like I said, I'd never had a boyfriend, so kind of thought all guys were cute because I'm like that. So I went over to them and I instructed them on what to do. I don't know why, I was just drawn to Grant. I kept like glancing over to him and I didn't really know why, because honestly I didn't think he was that cute. I thought he was kind of adorable. He had kind of a baby face going. So my friend Tully that I told you about a little bit ago, he was also one of Grant's best friends. Tully and I were getting all the sound effects and stuff. Tully was really busy because he was already in the play doing some stuff. So he was already pretty busy. Grant was like, hey, I can help you with the sound if you want. So Grant ended up downloading all the sound effects for me, and he brought it over to one of the rehearsals. He ended up volunteering to do the projector for when we showed pictures of the time period before the show and during intermission. That means that he sat right next to me at the soundboard. And I remember the one thing that him and I always talk about is how annoyed I was at him. I literally hated this kid so much because if you knew me in high school, you knew how much I protected my soundboard. It was like my child, the soundboard. He kept touching all of my buttons and all of my knobs on the soundboard, and it was pissing me off. I remember going home at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and my mom would still be awake, and she'd be like, how was rehearsal? Been fine if this fucker would stop touching my buttons. Opening night of the play, one of the actors, he decided to grab his glow gloves, you know, those gloves at raves and stuff where people do like this thing. Well, he decided to grab those and turn off all of the house lights and play music off my soundboard with my permission. I gave him permission to do that. And it was like rave music, and you know, that's great, you like it, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. So I looked at Grant and I was like, I can't I can't listen to this music. I'm gonna go into the back. And he followed me back there, and we ended up talking about his parents, and I remember asking him if his best friend was his twin, because literally his friend Scott looks so much like Grant. Like, we call them the twins of the group, even though they're not related, and Grant's an only child. Like, it was so weird because I swore that they were twins, but they weren't. And it was really nice. And at that point, I think is where I actually started liking him. The only problem with that is that he was on his phone a lot, like texting and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, with my luck, he has a girlfriend. And I was like, does he have a girlfriend? And he goes, no. He was like, why? Do you like him? Bro. Maybe. So the funny thing is, I was with my friend Jessica, and we were in the car behind him and Tully heading after rehearsal. And all of a sudden I see Tully going like this and like shoving Grant and like just like freaking out. I texted Tully and I was like, why were you freaking out in his car? And he goes, because once we got in the car, I asked him if he liked you, and he said yes, and I started freaking out, and I was like, she likes you too! Oh my god, why would you tell him? So for the rest of like the shows, we had 3 more shows to do, and for those shows, we kept touching knees and stuff like that, and I mean, I started like getting butterflies in my stomach because I was like, oh my god, this guy likes me and I like him, and what does that mean? And the job of the president and the vice president and the secretary is to get gifts for the director at the end of the shows. So we had gotten all these gifts, and all the gifts for the people that helped that weren't students. Like, some parents helped build sets, some people made costumes, but so we were getting everything together so he wouldn't see them. And all of a sudden, Tully is dragging Grant behind him and comes over to me and the vice president of the drama club, and we're talking, trying to figure out how we're gonna get this done without him finding out. He goes, Grant, you like Kaylee. Kaylee, you like Grant. Now date. I just like stood there and I was like, okay, can we talk about this later? And I was like, I gotta do stuff. I can't deal with this right now. And like, I saw Grant and his face was so red. It was this red. This is how red his face was. And I guarantee mine didn't look any better because I was literally like just standing there. Like, Polly walked away and I looked at Grant and I was like, I'm sorry, sorry. And I just like bolted. For the rest of the night, I like completely avoided him. Like, we were at the soundboard for closing night and I like sat on like this side of the soundboard and he was like all the way over there on the other side. Now I think about it and I'm like, what was the big deal? But it was like my mind was like freaking exploding. Grant was supposed to take Tully to the party because Tully didn't have a car. But Grant told Tully that he wasn't going to drive him. And he ended up waiting until I was ready to leave just so that he could take me home. Okay, there's something I forgot to mention. Okay, so my mom, the first time she met Grant was, I think, opening night. And you know what she did? She rolled up her program and hit him on the head a bunch of times and was like, "Stop touching my daughter's buttons." And I was like, "Oh my God, Mom." I was at my dad's house, so I couldn't really go on a date because I couldn't really do much. I told my parents that I was going to be staying after school for homework help, but actually I went and hung out with Grant. We hung out and then it was like, we should do that again sometime. And so we went on our first date, which was at the movies. And let me tell you, that was the most awkward thing I've ever been a part of. He did not touch me. Like, he stayed in one spot the whole time, which made me feel awkward, which made me feel like I had to stay in one spot the whole time. So we were literally watching the Hunger Games like this the whole time. And then afterwards, he took me home. First of all, he did not come up to my door to get me. He texted me that he was there and waited in his car until I got in his car. And he didn't walk me to my door. And finally, a week later, I was like, oh my God, he doesn't like me anymore. But he was still texting me. So I was hanging out with my friend Jessica on the 2nd of December, and I texted him. Actually, I didn't text him. Jessica took my phone and started texting him like, "Hey, do you even like me?" And he was like, "Well, yeah." And she's like, "Well, why haven't you asked me out?" And he goes, "Well, I'll do it right now." And I'm like, "No." And then I took the phone back and I was like, "No, don't ask me friggin' over text message. That's so lame." This is the most cringing part of this story. Grant, I went up to the table where Jessica usually hangs out, which is right next to the table where Grant hangs out in the morning, ironically. And I was talking to Jessica, didn't even look at him because it was so awkward. Bell rings and stuff, and he walks me to my classroom, and then he pulls me over to the trash cans and says, "So, I think that there's something I need to ask you." Well, why haven't you asked me? And I'm just waiting for the right time. Ugh. Still gets me cringed because it was so awkward. "Well, you could ask me right now." He goes, "Well, I'm working up to it." "Well, let's do it." "Fine, will you go out with me?" And I was like, "Yes." Then we went to hug. Now, me being a female, I was always taught that if you like a guy, you always hug above, and then he hugs below so he can grab your waist. Grant did not know this, so I started going above him, but he started to go above me. So then our arms were in this weird tanglement of awkwardness. Ended up doing this weird like side hug thing, and I just went to class and I was like, that was very awkward. The rest is history, and here we are almost 4 years later. That's how Grant and I met. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about the very, very awkwardness that was Grant and I's relationship before we started dating. I hope that you liked my first Talking Tuesday. Please comment below, just let me know what you thought of it, where I could do differently. Thanks for watching. Bye! So rhythm and rush these days, the lights don't move and the colors don't fade.